All right. What's up, everybody? I'm back again. This time we're going to talk about why you can't get a date. Now, this isn't a left wing or right wing issue, it's a male issue. And now I know a lot of Republicans will say, oh, well, we got to deport the Muslims. And maybe some left wing people will say we got to deport the Jews. I don't know. I don't think that's really the point as much. Because when you look at it from just a numbers standpoint, and a few other cultural reasons, it seems to make more sense to only allow women to immigrate to the United States and possibly like very young children, like below the age of like 5. But that's about it. Now, why that is for a very simple reason. It's just a supply and demand problem when it comes to men and women. Now, since there's about 50% men and 50% women, maybe there's usually slightly more women because women live longer, slightly. But when you're talking about in reproductive age, also men tend to die earlier too, especially young men, either commit suicide or dangerous activities like, extreme sports, hunting, stuff like that. So there's generally a little bit more women than men. And on top of it, in a modern society, women's sexual market value is higher than a man that basically looks the same as them. Well, not looks the same as them, but is the same on a looks scale. So like a guy that's like a 5 and a woman that's a woman that's a 5 can get a guy that's like an 8, but a guy that's a 5 can only get a woman that's like a 3 or 4. And that's if he's like working out and everything and has a good job. So it's kind of like very lopsided in the modern world as to like how men can get a date. So what used to balance the system out was, of course, the fact that before electricity and modernization, women needed men's physical strength in order to survive in nature. And then during like the boomer time period, and like slightly before that, I guess the greatest generation, like after the World War II, there were less men than women. After every war, there's always less men than women because more men get killed in the war than women. And so it kind of balances out the process in that way, where because there's less men, it increases the demand for men, right? So it increases the demand for men, and then it gives you more opportunities to get a date, right? And then getting a date is what leads to you getting a family. So if you can't get you can't get a date, you can't get a family. And then you can see why people get pissed off about that. So some other reasons why we should only allow women to immigrate into the United States, and again, small children like under the age of 5, is because, for one, women are less likely to commit a violent crime, like extremely less likely than a man to commit a violent crime, right? And the chances that a woman was enlisted into a foreign army, I mean, yeah, they have women spies and stuff like that, and there's some crazy women that do like suicide bombs and stuff, but it seems like it's much more rare because the whole concept comes from the polygamous society and the fact that there's a bunch of excess young men who can't get a wife because the rich guys all have like 5 or 6 women. And that's why monogamy is better than polygamy. And people want to go, oh, well, polygamy, the rich guys should be able to get as many women as they want because they're better than everybody else. But then the problem comes, there's only so many women in the world, in your culture, in your country, in your city, in your state, in your town, right? And so when one guy takes like 10 women and then you have like the other like top 5 richest guys taking like another 10 women themselves, it's going to deplete the amount of women that's in society, right? And that's going to be less men able to get a date. Men that can't get a date get pissed off at society because if they feel like society's blocking them from being able to get a date. And in a certain sense, they are, because if all the rich guys are taking up all the women, then they are blocking the other guys from getting some. Okay. So The other reason is that women are more likely to conform to customs and culture and to assimilate, you can say conform or assimilate, whichever way. I mean, there's a lot of historical context to that, and it's just pretty obvious that, women are more likely to follow cultural trends and do what everybody else is doing. It's part of their survival mechanism to stay with the group and, be favorable to the group because that's what gets them ahead, right? So the other kind of point that I wanted to make is that it will be a self-fixing problem also, because once we start taking all the women from the other countries, right, they'll demand that immigration stop. When we're taking 5-6% of their women out of their country and they can't come here because they're men, right? Then they're going to be like, oh, wait, this immigration stuff sucks, bro. They're gonna be like, yeah, wait, hold up on the immigration. Wait a minute. How many women went over there? Wait, immigration, we need a bill right now. Government, all our governments need to stop all immigration immediately, block all immigration into the United States, right? Because we're taking the women, right? Then they're gonna be like, oh, no, hold up on that immigration. All right, so it is like a self-fixing problem too. It'll balance itself out. If we only take women, eventually they're going to be like, no, please, no more, don't take any more, right? I mean, that's how men are anyway. So we're going to look at some numbers on Grok here. That's why I got this pulled up, to just kind of see what's going on in the United States in that sense. All right. So it's just like, how many adult, whoops, I didn't spell that right. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so yeah, see, there's like more women than men already. See, there's 137 to 138 million women and 131.5 million men, right? Okay, so let's find out how many immigrants there are. Okay, so it says that the foreign-born population is approximately 51 to 52 million people, which represents about 15% of the total U.S. population, right? Peaked at 53 million, right? So if those were all women, right? But I'm not sure if this is including immigrants, but let's just say it's not including immigrants. And then you made them all women, then you would have 187, million women, right? So that would increase the female population by like 15%, right? And then so that would increase the value of men because there'll be less men to women ratio, right? So you can see right there that, I mean, obviously it's not going to solve the housing problem or anything like that, but especially if you start taking immigrants from like Europe and other places like that too, then that will help increase, the white population. And then, like I'm saying, you know, especially if we're not going to have a war, people don't want to have a war, right? Because that was the other way to reduce the male population in order to increase male value. And that's a lot of the reason why boomers have this insane view of women, because, after the war, it was extremely easy for them to get a woman, right? There was still a lot of strength-based jobs in the industrial industry, like in factories and all types of like welding jobs. I mean, there still are, but it was like supercharged at that point, right? And there wasn't as many jobs for women that were like high-paying jobs. And you could say some of that was due to sexism, but, they didn't have air-conditioned offices. I mean, think about it. Have you ever tried to drive a car without power steering? Like, women can't do it. Women can't drive a truck that doesn't have power steering. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't drive a car that doesn't have power steering. So like all this stuff came out in the 80s, even stick shift. Like my mom like blew her knee out driving stick shift her whole life, and she had to get like knee surgery from driving stick shift. Right? It's like women can do it, but they get stressed out. Their body produces more testosterone and stuff like that. So a lot of those jobs used to just, it's like you could say it's sexism, but it's men are actually designed to like work longer and extreme climate conditions, like extreme heat, extreme cold, all that type of stuff. I know it's kind of like sidetracking here, but my point is kind of like, that bringing over women, as long as they're not like super going to enter into the workforce, right? Maybe like low-level jobs, part-time jobs, stuff like that, it's fine. But not if we're bringing over a bunch of like female nuclear scientists to take jobs from nuclear scientists in the United States, or to take jobs from people working in like entry-level jobs, stuff like that. But you can see how, at least theoretically, right, it would have the other countries putting immigration moratoriums on, because they'd be like, whoa, hold up. How many percent of women have left the country? 10%? They'd be like, oh, hold up. How do we stop immigration? Like, I mean, that's pretty much what would happen. So, like I'm saying, it's kind of like the anti-war choice, and it's a nonpartisan issue because I'm pretty sure heterosexual guys on the left and right are looking for a date if they are not already in a relationship. And bringing only women in will increase your chances of getting a date. Women are less likely to commit crime. They're more likely to assimilate. And that's pretty much the points I had to make on that topic. Thanks for watching the video. If you did, hope that made sense. It's kind of like going off track there a little bit, but I don't want to do like a 10-hour MGTOW lecture video. So that's it. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and peace.